Hi, good evening. This is Dr. Abdul Rahim. Hope you are all doing well. So today we are going to discuss a new topic from linear algebra, which is about solving the system of equations using the Gauss Siedel method. Okay, so now we will solve a problem by using this method so that you can understand better. Okay, so what is the given question? Solve the system of equations by the Gauss Siedel method. 8x1 minus 3x2 plus 2x3 is equals to 20. 4x1 plus 11x2 minus x3 is equals to 33. 6x1 plus 3x2 plus 12x3 is equals to 36. So now we are going to solve this system of equations using the Gauss Siedel method. Okay. Now consider this as equation number 1 and this as equation number 2 and this as equation number 3. Okay, so now from 1 we will find out x1. So therefore 8x1 8x1, so I want to find out x1, so I will move these terms to the right hand side. So 8x1 is equals to 20. If it goes to the other side, it becomes 3x2 minus 2x3. So to get x1, so I will divide by 8. So x1 is equals to, so I have to divide by 8. So 1 by 8, 20 plus 3x2 minus 2x3. So this is 4. Okay. Now from 2, we'll find out x2. From this 2, we'll find out x2. So from 2, so 11 x2 is equals to 33 minus 4x1 plus x3. So this implies, so x2 is equals to, so we have to divide by 11. So 1 by 11, 33 minus 4x1 plus x3. So this is number 5. Now from 3, we need to find x3. So 12x3 is equals to x3 is equals to 36 minus 6x1 minus 3x2. So therefore x3 is equals to, so divide by 12. So 1 upon 12, 36 minus 6x1 minus 3. This is number 6. Okay. So now we will start the iteration. First iteration. First iteration. First iteration. So for the first iteration, find the value of x1, put x2 is equals to 0 and x3 is equals to 0 in 4. In 4. For the first iteration, what we have to do, you have to take the equation number 4. Now to get the first iteration of the first x1, so you have to put x2 and x3 is equals to 0. So therefore, what happens now? X1 first iteration is equals to 1 by 8 into, so this is 20 plus 3 into 0 minus 2 into 0, right? So that is equals to 3 into 0 is 0, this also 0, and 20 plus 0 is 20, so that is equals to 20 by 8 5 by 5 by 2. Cancelling with 4, 4 2 is 8, 4 5 is 20. So 5 by 2 is how much? 0.5. Right? 2.5. Now, to find the first iteration of x2, now put x1 is equals to, now you have to use the found value of x1 from the first iteration. Now to find the value of x2, we have to use the equation number 3, and now you have to substitute x1 and x3. But here instead of x1, we will take the value of x1 from the first iteration, that is 2.5. We are going to substitute here, and x3 as 0, comma, and x3 is equals to 0 in equation number 5, in this 5. So to find the first iteration of x2, what we have to do, we have to substitute the values of x1 and x3. Here x1 value, we are going to take the value of x1 from the first iteration, that is 2.5, and x3 value we will take it as 0. So therefore what happens, x2 from the first iteration is equals to, so 1 by 11 33 minus 4 into x1, instead of x1 we are going to put x1 dash, so that is 2.5, 4 into 2.5 plus 0, right? So after simplifying, what we will get, we will get the value as 2.1. Simplify it, we will get the value as 2.1, right? So for the first iteration of x1, what we have to put, we have to put x2 is equals to 0 and x3 is equals to 0 in 4. So we got first iteration of x1 as 2.5. Now we have to use this value to get the first iteration of the x2. So here we will use this equation. Here we will use the value obtained from the first iteration, x1 value as 2.5. So that is what we have done here, and x3 as 0. Now similarly, now next one is we have to find x3. So for x3, what we have to do, Here we have x1 and x2. So we are going to make use of these values, x1 and x2 values. We are going to substitute instead of x1 here and x2. We are going to use the new values from the iteration. So therefore, put x1 is equals to 2.5 and x2 is equals to x2 from the first iteration, that is equals to 2.1 in equation number 6, right? So what we have to do here to find x3 value under the first iteration, we have to substitute the values of x1 and x2, but the values of x1 and x2 we are going to substitute which have been obtained from the first iteration. So the x1 is equals to 2.5 and x2 value as 2.1 in this equation. Then you will get the iteration of x3, first iteration of x3. So therefore is equals to 1 by 12 into 36 minus 6 into x1. So x1 is how much? That is 2.5. 2.5 minus 3 into x2. So x2 value from the first iteration, that is 2.1. We are going to substitute that one, right? So then we will get x3 as 1.2. We'll get 1 point, right? So this is the first iteration, right? So for the second iteration, what we have to do? So for the second iteration, we have to find the values of x1, x2 and x3. So for finding the second iteration of the x1 variable, what we have to do? We have to use this one, and instead of x2 and x3, so instead of x2 we are going to substitute the value of x2 from the first iteration, that is 2.5, and x3 value from the first iteration as 1.2 in equation number 4. So how much we'll get? So now therefore 1 by 8, 20 plus 3 into x2, instead of x2 we'll take 2.1, minus 2 into x3, instead of x3 we'll take 1.2. So on simplification we will get the value of x1 as 2.988. 2.988, right? Okay. So now we have to find out the x2 variable for the second iteration. So what we have to do? We have to substitute the values of x1 and x3. So put, what we have to do? Put x1 is equals to, we have to use the value of x1 which has been obtained from the second iteration. So therefore x1 is equals to x1 from the second iteration. So that is equals to 2.988 plus 2.988, and so and x3 is equals to x3 from the first iteration. So x3 from the first iteration, what is that value? That is equals to 1.2 in 5. So we have to substitute here. So therefore we'll get x2 as, so x2 is equals to 1 by 11 times 33 minus 4 into x1. So x1 here is 2.988, 2.988, 88 plus x3. So x3 is here 1.2. So on simplifying, we will get the value of x2 as 2.023. 2.023. Next, so we have to find out x3 for the second iteration. What we have to do, we have to substitute the values of x1 and x2. So we will use these values and we will substitute here. Okay. So therefore, put x1 is equals to x1 value from the second iteration is equals to how much? 2.988 and x2 is equals to x2 from the second iteration how much? 2.023 in equation number 6. So therefore we'll get the value of x3 as 1 by 12 into 36 minus 6 times x1. So instead of x1, we are going to use the value of x1 from the second iteration, that is 2.988 minus 3 into x2. So x2 value is 2.023. So that is it. On simplifying, we will get the value of x3 from the second iteration as 1. Right? Now we will go for the third iteration. Now we will go for the third iteration. Third iteration. Right? So what we have to do? Put x2 value or value of x2 from the second iteration, value of x2 from the so we have to get the x1 value, we have to use the x2 and x3 values which have been obtained in the second iteration. So x2 from the second iteration is how much? 2.023. 2.023 and x3 as x3 from the second iteration, 1 in 4, right? So therefore x1 is equals to 1 by 8 times 20 plus 3 into x2. Instead of x2 we are going to use the value of x2 which has been obtained from the second iteration, that is 2.023. 2.023. So 3 times 2.023 minus 2 into x3. So x3 value which has been obtained in the second iteration is 1. So we will use that one. Bracket close. So on simplifying this, we will get the value of x1 as 3.0086. 3.0086. Now, to get x2, we have to substitute x1 and x3. So we will use the value of x1 which has been obtained in the third iteration, and we will use the value of x3 which has been obtained from the second iteration. So therefore, put x1 is equals to x1 from the third iteration. So that is equals to 3.0086 and x3 is equals to x3 from the second iteration. What is that x3 from the second iteration? That is 1. So we have to put these values in equation number 5, right? So therefore x2 is equals to 1 by 11 times 33 minus 4 into x1. So x1 from the third iteration is 3.0086 plus x3. So x3 we have to take it as 1. So on simplifying this one, value of x2 for the third iteration is 1.99. 1.9969. So on simplifying, we'll get this value, okay? 1.9969. Right. So now we have to find the value of x3. So here what we have to do, we have to substitute x1 and x2. So x1 we will substitute the value obtained from the third iteration, and x2 which has been obtained from the third iteration, right? So therefore now put x1 is equals to x1 from the third iteration. So that is how much? 3.0086 and x2 is equals to x2 from the third iteration. X2 from the third iteration. How much? 1.99 in equation number 6, right? So therefore x3 is equals to 1 by 12 36 minus 6 into x1. So instead of x1 we will be using 3.0086 minus 3 into x2. So instead of x2 we will be using 1.9969. Bracket close. So on simplifying this one, we will get the value of x3 as 0.9965. 0.9965. So, so these are the values from the third iteration, right? Now let us go for the next iteration, fourth iteration. So how long we have to do this iterations means, for the consecutive iterations you have to get the values of x1 and x2 and x3 as similar. So once you get the values of x1 and x2 and x3 similar values for the consecutive iterations, we will stop there. Okay, right. Now let us go for the fourth iteration. So for the fourth iteration, what we have to do? Put. So we have to find out x1. So we have to use x2 and x3, which have been obtained in the third iteration. So put x2 is equals to x2 from the third iteration. So x2 from the third iteration is how much? 1.9969. 1.9969. And x3 is equals to x3 from the third iteration. So that is equals to 0.9965. So in equation number, right? So to find x1, we have to substitute the values of an x2 and x3, so which have been obtained from the previous iteration, that is from the third iteration. So x2 value from the third iteration is 1.9969 and x3 value is 0.9965. So you have to put that one in equation number 4. So therefore we will get x1 value for the fourth iteration is equals to 1 by 8 times 20 plus 3 into, so x2 is how much? 1.9969. 1.9969 minus 2 into x3. So x3 is how much? 0.9965. Bracket close. So on simplifying this one, we will get the value as 2.9997, right? Okay, so now we have to find the value of x2. So what we have to do, we have to substitute the values of x1 and x3. So we will use the value of x1 which has been obtained from the fourth iteration, and x3 value we will take it from the third iteration, right? So therefore put x1 is equals to x1 value from the fourth iteration. So that is 2.9997 and x3 is equals to, which has been obtained from the third iteration. So x3 from the third iteration, that is equals to 0.9965 in equation number 5, right? So therefore x2 is equals to, so that is equals to 1 upon 11 times 33 minus 4 into x1. So instead of x1 we will use this one, 99997 plus x3. So x3 is equals to 0.9965. Bracket close. So on simplifying, we'll get 1.9998. On simplifying, we'll get that value, right? So now we have to find out x3. So we have to substitute an x1 and x2. So x1 and x2 values, we will substitute these values. So therefore, put x1 is equals to x1 from the fourth iteration 2.9997 and x2 is equals to x2 from the fourth iteration. So that is equals to 1.999 in equation number 6. Therefore, x3 is equals to 1 upon 12, excuse me, 36 minus 6 into x1. So x1 value is this one, 2.9997 minus 3 into x2. So x2 value is here, 1.9998. So on simplifying this, we will get the value as 1.0002. Now, if you observe the values of x1, x2 and x3 from the third iteration and fourth iteration, if you see the value of x1 as 3.0086 and if you see the value of x1 from the fourth iteration as 2.99 and 9997, so they are almost equal. So x2 value is 1.9969 and here we have x2 as 1.9998. Similarly, x3 value is 0.9965. Here also they are almost nearer to each other. Okay, so therefore what we do is we will uh, stop the iteration and we will write down the solution as therefore as the values of x1, x2 and x3 from the third iteration and the fourth iteration are similar or nearer to each other, we stop here and we will take the solution of the given system of equations as x1 is therefore the solution of the system is taken as x1 is equals to 3, x2 is equals to 2, comma x2 is equals to 2 and x3 is equals to 1, right? So we have rounded off to the nearest decimal. So here 3, 2 and 1, 3, 2 and 1. So now let us check by substituting these values x1, x2 and x3 in the equation. So now let us check by substituting whether they are satisfied or not, whether this solution is satisfied or not. So x1 is equals to 3. If I put, so 8 into 3 is how much? 24. 8 into 3 is how much? Is 24. minus 3 into x2, 3 into 2, minus 3 into 2 is 6, right? 3 into 2 is 6, plus 2 into x3, 2 into 1 is plus 2. So 24 plus 2 is 26, 26 minus 6 is 20. So the given, the obtained solution is satisfied by the given system. So this is the procedure of finding the solution or solving the system of equations by using the Gauss Siedel method. So if you like my video, kindly hit the like button as well as share my video and as well as subscribe to my channel for watching more videos. Thank you for watching.